Hi everybody, it's Az here from HeelvsBabyface with, well, I don't know. I don't know if this is Emergency Az number 21 or AZCHATS number 65. I guess it's all going to depend on how much I've got to say on the topic, but you'll probably get an idea from the timestamp as you're watching this, but I'll let you know at the end of the vid. Now, it doesn't matter whichever one it is, because these are both more podcasty type of videos as opposed to visual videos. There's something for you to listen to as opposed to watch, so you can just tab out or step away from your keyboard, crank up the volume, and you'll get the full benefit. And it's going to come as absolutely no surprise the topic of the conversation, which is the cease and desist order that Blizzard have placed upon the Nostalrius private vanilla servers. And as ever, because this is either an AZCHATS or an Az video, it could contain fruity language, i.e. language of an adult nature. So if you are offended by such things, probably not the video for you. Although I don't think there's going to be too much effing and blinding in this one. So, yeah, I need to set a couple of things straight from my perspective before I go off into the kind of depths of this discussion. Number one, I've not spoken to anyone from Nostalrius. I've reached out in as much as I've reached out and asked on their YouTube if I can just have access to the server for the last few days, purely for a inquisitive perspective before they shut the servers down, I believe on the 10th. But I haven't physically spoken to any of them. If any of them want to approach me and have a chat, that's absolutely fine. I've got no problem with that. Just, you know, my details are on the About tab. But I need to make sure something's perfectly clear, because I don't want to come across as hypocritical in this video, so I want you to make sure that you are fully understanding my position on this situation. Now, I'm not saying that these contacts that I've had from people about Nostalrius in the past have been from the producers or whatever, but in the past I've received a lot, quite a lot, of messages from people asking me to play on it, asking me to review it, and I've always declined. Okay? Now, I haven't declined out of nastiness. I'm sure a lot of you, not a lot of you, some of you, may think so, but I've declined on the grounds of I personally try and look forward when it comes to gaming. And I try and look forward when it comes to MMORPGs. Because I don't personally believe if Blizzard sort of went back to 2004, it would necessarily work in today's environment of gaming. In as much as there is so much choice now. And I'm not just talking MMORPG-wise. There is so much choice whenever it comes to gaming. Whatever genre may tweak your fancy, tweak your nips, way, or any of that kind of jazz. So I've always declined on that basis, in the hope that I want to see the next big thing, as opposed to see something which I have in the past. With that said, I'm also not going to kid myself and lie to you, where I think there was also a little bit of fear in there as well. And the fear being that I would test these, or I would play on the private server and I would fall in love with it. And I know how much of my life I sunk into the Burning Crusade and Wrath of the Lich King. And if I didn't have a girlfriend at the time who played WoW with us, my sex life would have been over. It would have absolutely probably destroyed my social life. So I think there was also a potential element of fear that I could fall in love with these servers, and then, you know, I could potentially neglect personal relationships in my life. I could personally... Hello, baby. My cat's just jumped on my chair. I could personally neglect YouTube channel, streaming, all that kind of stuff, because I'd just be like, no, get me on the servers. So there was an element of fear, and I didn't want to test that fear factor. Now, because it's closing down in a few days' time, you know, I haven't got a problem jumping on for a couple of days and just kind of getting an idea of what it was like and such. But I want to make that perfectly clear from the get-go, okay? Because I don't want to come across as hypocritical. Now, just because I look forward as opposed to looking back doesn't mean I can't understand opposite viewpoints. In actual fact, this is a really interesting topic of conversation. I bounced some private messages back and forth between myself and Haven Games the other day about this, because he had a little bit of a play. He was loving it. I think he actually tweeted out that he was loving it, and got a lot of time for that guy. He's a lovely person. And we were just kind of giving our viewpoints on that, whereas he was like somebody who was playing, and I was somebody that's just like, I want the next thing. So this is a good kind of like area to discuss with other like-minded, reasonable, intelligent people who love a good debate and don't just start screaming and telling you I hope you die, i.e. YouTube comments. But so I fully understand that the nostalgic, and I think it's of course there with the server name, the Nostalrius, I fully understand the nostalgic element of why people would want to play. I think it's very apparent. I think it's a very attractive concept of going back to vanilla servers. I think it's a very attractive concept of being part of a community again, because I don't personally believe the WoW community is up to much now. I think it's very divided, and also, and this is the big kicker for me, is going back to World of Warcraft that we love. And I kind of draw a breath there, because I've made no bones about it. I have fallen out of love with WoW. I love the game. I desperately love the game, but it's not the game that I fell in love with anymore. And I don't think it's got better. I think it's got progressively worse and worse. And we're in a situation now where, well, let's face it, with the sub numbers the way they are, virtually everybody's kind of feeling the same way. This game has gone to shit. It's the only way to really put it. The game has gone to shit. And I certainly remember the days of the servers just being ram-packed. I remember the days of queuing up to get in because people were so desperate to get on. I remember the days of literally rubbing shoulders with other people because you just couldn't find a free space to stand in Shattrath in the Burning Crusade. And when you had that sense of community around you, and when you were in a guild, and when you were doing stuff, and when you were out raiding, and when you were out grinding for your mats, and when you were, profession-wise, crafting materials which were so powerful, that involved a lot of work to do, a lot of time and effort, but that feeling, that sense of accomplishment when you managed to craft it and wear it and enchant it and gem it, and all those good things that we used to do, was simply second to none. Whereas now, of course, it's the welfare epic system where everybody gets an Ashbringer, everybody gets purples thrown at them left, right, and centre. They've been completely devalued. They have no meaning. It's not a special thing anymore. And all those kind of things, they get you down a bit. You know, they get you down. You're waiting for that. It's like you've been taking heroin for so long that when you take it now, or when it's given to you, in the case of World of Warcraft, you just don't feel that hit, which is a shame. So a private server like Nostalrius, I think, brought that to a lot of people. So although my viewpoint is different from theirs, or different to what they do, I'm not slamming what they did. You know, I think anyone that would slam what they did would be laughed out, to be perfectly honest with you. But I fully understand the attraction, and maybe I have a bit of fear in me which prevented me from doing so. So the cease and desist order has been slapped upon them based off the fact that they are using copyright material. There is absolutely no debate whatsoever that what they're doing in the eyes of the law is wrong or illegal or whatever you want to call it. That isn't up for debate. This kind of argument / debate / discussion, whatever you want to call it, really kind of becomes a morality one. And you have to look at it from that standpoint, I truly believe. Because, let's face it, are Blizzard genuinely shutting down this server due to breaches of terms of service? I would say there's probably a 5% chance that's correct. I know I'm plucking flipping percentages out of my anus, but, you know, I really think that the genuine, legitimate reason for doing so is that low. I don't think it kind of goes up. I don't think that's the true reason for what they're doing. And is this unexpected? Is I suppose another question. Is this an unexpected turn by Blizzard to do this? And again, no, of course it isn't, because whereas in the past this server remained relatively anonymous, there's absolutely no denying in recent times, and I would say certainly within the last 2 or 3 months, the amount of chatter about this private server, the amount of chatter about private vanilla servers in general, got to be quite loud. Nearly every stream that I would do, people would ask me to, would I go on it? Do I play on it? Lots of videos. You know, probably 1 in 2 videos, 1 in 3 videos, I'd probably have some comment by somebody saying, hey, do you play on Nostalrius? It was getting to be quite a big thing. And when you're looking at people like Haven Games and stuff like that, I think it got a lot of interest from people within the WoW community that were starting to make an impact as well. And I think that scared Blizzard. I mean, I legitimately think it scared Blizzard, because the numbers that these people are touting, 800,000 registered accounts, I believe, with 150,000 people currently active. So not on the servers at any one time, but 150,000 active accounts. People logging in, logging out, I imagine, at some point during the month. On this private server, on these private servers. I think there's a PvP one, PvE one, and I believe there was a Burning Crusade one. I could correct me if I'm wrong. Like I said, I didn't partake myself. And when you're kind of bouncing around those sort of numbers, when you look at the state of World of Warcraft right now, they're high. And I say this, and I don't say this disrespectfully. I just say this as a company compared to Blizzard Entertainment. This is a minnow company, you know? This is a minnow, a tiny, tiny speck of a company compared to the behemoth of Blizzard Entertainment. And they were getting, they had 800,000, nearly 1 million registered accounts with 150,000 people active. Now, we don't know what the World of Warcraft subscribers are nowadays, because Blizzard decided, when they took their bat and ball home at the end of last year, that they would no longer provide the sub numbers. It had nothing to do with the fact that they were irrelevant to the shareholder meetings and the financial reports and all that kind of stuff. It was quite clearly because they were tumbling and just tumbling, and they won't stop tumbling. And of course we all know why. I don't have to go into the Warlords of Draenor shite to kind of point out why. It's evident the game, like I said, is just so piss poor at the moment compared to what it used to be. There's nothing attractive about playing it. So we don't know what the subscriber numbers for the full game is, but, you know, I've heard people, I think Asmongold said he thinks it's around 4 million subscribers, maybe less. Danger Dolan thinks it's below 4 million. I thought it's about 4.6 million, but I think I'm being really generous on that kind of side of things. We can only speculate, but I don't think there's any doubt whatsoever that they're still on the decline. They really are. The servers are empty. There's nobody about. You go around Tanaan, you're lucky to find somebody. You go around the world, it's empty. That could mean people are just phasing the garrisons or what, or in an instance, maybe raiding, I don't know. But they're just empty. They are really, really empty. And then somebody emailed me a video a couple of days ago, about the live Nostalrius servers versus the live World of Warcraft Warlords of Draenor game. And one showed a completely empty Orgrimmar, the live servers, and then one showed an Orgrimmar absolutely rampacked for Nostalrius, and then there was like some sort of soundtrack where they were just pissing themselves laughing. That video is completely out of context for a start, because of course there's a lot more to the live game than just vanilla. They've got all the other stuff, and people aren't based in the capital cities now, really, of Orgrimmar and Stormwind. So it's a little bit of a misleading video, but I don't think it was meant to be sort of a genuine comparison. I think it was just kind of showing, hey, look, there's a community here. There's a community that's developing versus a non-existent community on live. And so whether or not there are 4 million players in the World of Warcraft right now, and 150,000 players on Nostalrius right now, there are other factors to also take into consideration, because I think the Far East have the greatest percentage of players in the World of Warcraft. So let's just say, for argument's sake, we're on 4 million subscribers right now, and it goes to 2 million. Half of 50% of players are playing in the East, where the largest base is, and of course where they have a completely different subscription model. So that leaves 2 million between the Oceanics and Europe, where it is believed that there is more players in the Oceanics than there are in Europe. So for argument's sake, let's say there's 1.2 million subscribers in America and 800,000 players in Europe. And then when you start to break it down into that kind of model, then this 150,000 active players on Nostalrius starts to look unfucking-lievable. I mean, unreal. Absolutely unreal. So if you put 150,000 players on Nostalrius against potentially 800,000 players in Europe, you're just like, holy fuckballs. This tiny minnow company up against Blizzard Entertainment, potentially taking a lot of business out of them, away from them, I should say. So you've got to look at it from that sort of avenue. Were Blizzard doing it because they're breaking terms of service? I very much highly doubt it. They were breaking it. They decided to push this cease and desist order because the mouse got a little bit too loud. The mouse decided to roar, and people were hearing the roar of this little mouse. And I even think Blizzard would have had the mentality of, even if these people won't come back to the World of Warcraft Warlords of Draenor live, we might just get a tiny fraction of them. And it's better to have a tiny fraction of them than none of it at all. And we can always hide behind the veil of they are breaking terms of service, they are using copyright material, they've always got the law behind them. That is not in dispute. So they can do this kind of behavior while having also the moral high ground. You know, Nostalrius doesn't have the moral high ground here. Blizzard have the law behind them. They technically have the moral high ground behind them. How they manipulate that is completely and utterly different. So just going back to what I was saying about returning to the World of Warcraft, there's a reason why people gravitated towards Nostalrius. And the reason was they didn't want to play Warlords of Draenor. They didn't want to play what the game had become. They didn't want to play this vending machine, epic, no challenge, no diversity, hardly any dungeons, irrelevant content, outdated content within couple of weeks. They didn't want to play that type of game. They wanted to play the game where after a week of leveling up, they were level 30. They wanted to play the type of game that when they got to top level, you really needed to form those relationships. You really needed to form those guilds and tackle the raids that they used to be in the condition that they used to be, which was hard. Really, really hard. And to my knowledge, I believe that they were actually looking to release AQ40 very soon indeed. Before the cease and desist order got placed on them. So they were going to have AQ40 come. The likelihood is Nax would have come if Nax isn't already in it. And all that kind of stuff. So those people were looking for challenge. People who are on this server are looking for challenge. People who are on this server are not looking for instant gratification. They're not looking for antisocial behaviour. They're looking for fun times, generating new friendships with people, coming together in guilds, experiencing a game which some may debate was at its best when it was challenging. And it's very difficult to argue against that point of view, because when the World of Warcraft was at its peak in Wrath of the Lich King, it was still a relatively tough game. Not quite as tough, I would say, as it was in Burning Crusade or Vanilla, because I did experience the Vanilla content because I joined just as Wrath of the Burning Crusade had been released. But certainly, compared to nowadays, a much greater challenge. There was much more of a challenge there in outworld content, the amount of dungeons, the progression of that, yada yada yada. So these people aren't looking for what Warlords of Draenor is offering. So shutting down these servers, are they going to get people back to play the live game? I would say a fraction, an absolute fraction. Are Blizzard happy to take that absolute fraction? Yes. Yes, I would say so. Even if it means they get 1,000 subs back, even if it means they get 10,000 subs back, that's money that they wouldn't have had before, so they will always class it as a win-win. They've got the moral high ground, they've got the law behind them, and that kind of stuff. And this is such a shame. I mean, it is such a shame, because you have to look at it from Nostalrius' point of view as well, as to what they were trying to achieve. Were they profiteering from this? I don't believe so. I think this was just free to play for a start. I think you applied to play, from what I can gather, and then they would accept your application and they would give you a download and a login or whatever. It was something along those kind of lines, from what I can ascertain. Again, having not experienced it myself, don't jump on me if I've got it a little bit incorrect there. But I don't believe that there was any kind of charges. I don't know how they made their money. I really don't. Or whether or not they were just investing their own money into keeping this going as a bit of a pet project. Maybe advertising on the website. Maybe that could have generated funds which allowed them to keep the servers going. But this certainly didn't look like a profit scheme. This certainly didn't seem in any capacity to be a way to try and fleece players by literally tugging at their heartstrings for days gone by and content gone by, which they could appreciate a lot more than they've got now. No, it certainly didn't appear to be that in any shape, way or form. And from what I can also gather, the staff members, we'll call them staff members, they are staff members, I suppose, were all volunteers. I don't believe they got paid. Again, if I am incorrect here, I do apologise. But, if these are volunteers, then this is a passion project. This is nothing more than a passion project. And with so many WoW players disillusioned, and I've been speaking to people recently, and I've talked about this disconnect that we now have in the game. And it's not just a disconnect from the content, it's also a disconnect from the development team. They just seem to be on a completely different planet to us. They don't seem to really give two shits what we think. They seem to believe that everything they're doing is correct. They are refusing to apologise for the state of the game. And while they refuse to do all these things and continue to do all these things, the sub numbers just continue to drop and drop and drop. So there's something to be said about that. So yeah, this is a pet passion project. This is a passion project from people who clearly adore WoW and clearly adore what the game used to provide. And even if it's a service of just legacy servers, it seems a very harsh thing for Blizzard to do, but you can absolutely see why they would do it. Because if this got too popular, then they could literally start to dismantle what is already a game falling apart. And I don't just mean Nostalrius becoming a huge behemoth, but if these kind of got popular, then you'd probably get other people suddenly setting up their own servers, their own private servers, and all that kind of jazz. Because this is a vocal one. We know for a fact there are hush-hush ones. There are hush-hush ones out there as well, which people, play on, don't advertise because they don't want to get the attention from Blizz. The sad thing about Nostalrius is they did get the attention. the giant turned its beady eye upon the mouse and decided to squish it with its club. So I fully understand where Blizz are coming from. They can play the moral card, they can play the legal card, and you can't really argue against them. Copyrighted material was being used without permission, which it shouldn't be. Now, they have petitioned for legacy servers to be allowed. I can't imagine that Blizzard would allow that unless it was under their banner, unless it was under the World of Warcraft banner. And I personally don't see Blizz putting on legacy servers unless they put legacy servers on and just say to the community, look, this is how it used to be. Don't come crying to us about balancing and shit. Alright? This is how it used to be. Fucking deal with it. If they did that, then that's a potential. But, you know, you kind of understand from the World of Warcraft community, if they did that, they'd just get people going, this is too hard. I'm too weak. You know, you're going to get that sort of whingy behaviour, which we see in the current WoW. So it just might not be worth their time and attention to do so. So it is sad, and it is sad not just for Nostalrius, but of course for the people who are playing it, that have built these relationships, that have built these guilds up, that have experienced WoW in its original format, and obviously seen the tremendous difference between then and now. And where are they going to go? What are they going to do? Who knows? Maybe it was just its time to die. Maybe it was just came to the end of its natural lifespan. It had bloodied the nose of the giant before it got squished, and not in a aggressive way. I don't believe that they were going out to cause shit. I legitimately believe that they went out there to provide a service. Whether or not you were interested in it is another matter. Like I said, I believe in going forward as opposed to going back. But yeah, it's sad. Of course it's sad, because I understand. I believe I understand what they were trying to achieve, but it's fully understandable about what's happened. So there we go. I think this is AZCHATS number 65, which has just come to an end now, folks. I think that's the kind of position that I feel about it from a point of view of somebody who hasn't spoken to anyone internally within that company. Just from an external point of view and trying to understand both sides of the coin. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed the vid. If you did, do give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel. Follow me on social media and Twitch for live streaming. Links, they're in the description down below. And I'll be back with some more stuff very soon. You take care, everybody. Bye-bye.